What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Tuffy Talk Live Show, y'all. We are here rocking and rolling and busy as can be, y'all. And I'll be 100% honest right now and saying I am absolutely exhausted right now. It's been the craziest weekend. I know I'm sure Greg driving around feels the same as well. But I mean, obviously between women's basketball last week to the wrestling casino night on Friday to gymnastics last Saturday to wrestling all day yesterday. And then we got men's basketball coming up this week. Got NCAA tournament for men's basketball, wrestling coming up. It's just buckle up, y'all. March is going to be absolutely redonkulous, to say the least, here for sure. So with that being said, obviously we got the four of us: Greg, Leg, Mackenzie, Michael, and myself here with us. Macon will be joining us here shortly. But I see we already got a plethora of comments here even before we even get in here, which I love. So again, keep those things rolling, y'all. Again, you know the drill. But if you don't, obviously just send us your comments, thoughts, concerns, whatever it may be. Even if you don't even necessarily have any thoughts or questions right now, Go Pack Wrestling, boom, baby. I like that, Mark. Just at least just say, hey, what's up? Give us a Go Pack, whatever it may be, and we'll get all to all those questions, comments ASAP. But Ken's, Michael, Greg, how we feeling, y'all? Feeling good? Feeling excited?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Before we get too far, I just want to say welcome to my typical weekend. All your traveling around that you did. It's exhausting. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. But do want to give a shout out. Go ahead and get through some of these. And we got Macon. Macon, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys?
It's now a party.
Yeah. I see. We got your good camera working today. I love it.
Yeah, I can't even know what happened.
Hey, it's all good, man.
I'd be mad.
All right, let's get rolling here. Yeah. So King Dot getting us started off strong, saying let's go. Best fan base in the world, and definitely no doubt about it for sure. I mean, obviously we could talk about the ACC wrestling tournament was a sellout crowd. We could talk about even with everything going on, baseball had a great crowd the whole weekend. Gymnastics, I mean, dude, I said it on Twitter, but literally the environment gave me goosebumps. I love seeing the student section for the first time, which is a new thing, which we'll definitely talk about. I mean, just NC State, Wolfpack fans are amazing, to say the least. And then Nick, we'll definitely talk about our wrestling team. Obviously, this week, yesterday, who was redonkulous, to say the least. What up, Wolfpack crazy? Yo. And then Rusty says Pat got screwed on all ACC picks, so don't you worry, Russell. We'll talk about that here. But with that being said, though, so we're going to jump right into it. We actually, without even asking for it, had a Tuffy's mailbag question. So to go ahead and kind of lead into our first conversation, we're going to go ahead and bring that baby up. So here we go. All right, so our question that was submitted to us was submitted by Rusty Oil saying, Tuffy Talk Now, question for tonight. Who you got as ACC Men's Basketball Coach of the Year and Player of the Year? And obviously, to kind of give a little bit of context to this, they came out with the All-ACC teams today. And I guess in the news, Jarkel Joyner and Big T were not on the All-ACC first team. It was Tyree Applebury from Wake Forest, Baycott. I don't have list.
Burton from Pitt, Isaiah Wong.
Yep.
And was Filipowski on that list?
No, yeah. Filipowski was on second team.
Kyle
Filipowski from Duke. He was
I was Wong, Burton, the two guys you just said.
It was Armando.
Yep.
I can't remember who it was. Let me look if I can find it real quick. I'll let you know.
No. But yeah, so ACC Men's Basketball Coach of the Year and Player of the Year. I mean, so Coach of the Year, at least to
already
me.
Announced.
What is it?
Did you know it was already announced?
Yeah. It was?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Capel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff Capel. Well, yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. That makes 100% sense.
And I was
Tyson's who it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was surprised how little love Keats got.
Did he get any votes?
Two
votes.
He got as many as Larinaga.
Yeah, I think he should have gotten more than that, considering the injuries we had to deal with compared to other teams. But
where we were originally slotted.
Yeah, 10th preseason, we finished 6th. So I mean, and it was a point or two either way to get us even between fifth evens for sure. So, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely. I mean, again, Capel makes sense for sure, but yeah, definitely. No respect to Keats, but again, I can't remember who said it. I think it was the NC State NCSU fan page account that basically said that if Jarkel or Big T were wearing any shade of blue, they would have gotten first team
period.
All-ACC. And I mean, again, I think there's two things that obviously stand out with which maybe explain why they didn't get first team. Obviously, Big T. He's hit a huge slump the second half of this, and I wouldn't necessarily say second half, probably the last third of the season. Yeah, last 5 or 6 games. And then Jarkel, he missed some time with injuries. But I don't know, man. I mean, like what this guy has done, over the last 5 or 6 games that Big T has been slumping, Jarkel has absolutely balled out, to say the least. So I think that was a snub, in my opinion. Making what was your initial thoughts seeing all these CTs?
Personally, I think it kind of makes sense. I'm trying to go back and look to see what is Hunter Tyson's stats. Does anybody know that? I'm trying to look it up real quick. He's 15.7 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. So he's just under double-double, and he's shooting just shy of 50%. That's really good. Now we're going to compare it to Jarkel Joyner. I think Jarkel was somewhere around 17.
Yeah, he was right at 17 the last game.
Yeah. I mean, Tyson's. I honestly, I think the stats make sense. I mean, the rankings make some sense. I actually think it's good. What I'm more surprised about is that Burns didn't get a little bit, maybe sneak into third team.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But I honestly do think second team for Terquavian and Jarkel is right. I think. Actually, I even was kind of thinking I thought Terquavian might end up being third team because I thought he's been kind of inconsistent. But I think it's great he's second team. So
Joyner and Smith actually ended up with 17.3 points a game each.
Well, they did.
They caught each other. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Those are good stats. And I mean, Appleby makes sense. Me and Michael talked about on some. For those who are going to watch, we've got a preview coming up here for the AC tournament. I mean. We had a poll we put out, and I personally thought at the time Appleby may be your player of the year, since it's not. It was going to be Baycott. So, and he's first team. Burton is the main piece there for Pitt. I think it's fair. I think overall, I don't see anybody else that's like shocking. Maybe Jesse Edwards, I thought could have squeaked into second team since he is averaging a double-double for Syracuse. But that's about it. I don't know what Kihei Clark's stats are. That might be the one I have to look into because I don't know what that guy's doing.
But I think the biggest one I think that we can agree on, especially since Michael even tweeted about it, was DJ Burns not even sneaking into the third team All ACC.
He got like honorable mention, and that's just
I mean, it hurt him because he had to split time with Doosan in the first non-conference game. So it was really his numbers were dragged down by that. But like in AC, if you look at his numbers purely in ACC play, like there's no doubt he's at least third team, maybe first or second, really.
So, and I'm looking here, the only category Kihei Clark is even in the top 5 in is assists. He's second in assists. He's not in any of the top 5 in any of the other categories. I'm trying to see where Burns is fourth in field goal percentage. And Burns is actually not even on the rest of the sets either. So maybe that's part of it. But if I had to pick Burns over Clark, I'm picking Burns. And I'm not saying I truly don't feel like I'm saying that based on being biased. And I've watched, and I will say, obviously, I have watched more NC State basketball than I have Virginia basketball. But what is Burns' stat line? Did you have there, Michael?
Yeah, I have it right here. If
you got it?
Needs it.
I know.
Yeah,
you got it, Greg.
He's at 13.1 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and he's shooting 56.8% from the field.
Yeah, and you compare that.
PJ Hall's numbers are slightly better. I mean, just fractions.
But the one I take issue with is Kihei Clark, because if you look at his stats, he's averaging 11.1 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, 5.7 assists. 5.7 assists is great. I won't tell you that.
Man, yeah.
But I mean, no, I'm saying this is Kihei Clark stats.
Okay.
DJ, and he's doing it on 41% shooting. Burns is doing it on 13.1 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists on 56.8. He's shooting almost 57%.
56.8. Yep.
And I just what Burns able to do night in and night out is more impressive to me than what Clark's doing. The other guys on the third team, I'm like, okay, I can see that. I'm not saying Clark's a bad player. I'm just saying that would be the one I take issue with. Why is he on there and Burns isn't? I'd like to hear the logic there. So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, they play two different positions, right? So, are you looking for 3 guards, 2 big men, 2? I don't know, 3 big men, 2 guards. I don't know.
The answer how the voting worked was that because I listened to another site's podcast. I'll just say that, and then they were saying that the way the voting, I think I understood this correctly, worked is they ranked the best players in ACC 1 through 15, and he said I assumed this would be a first team, second team.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any positions anymore.
Okay.
So
okay.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. So
especially in today's day and age, since I mean it's almost positionless basketball in college and NBA these days. So
right. And that's what I was going to say too, is if you're just going straight down the board, if you're looking at stats, whatever your criteria is, DJ then has to be at least third team.
For sure. Well, just like eye value alone. I mean, at least I feel like every single game, the commentators, all they could talk about was DJ Burns, and just like not only just how dominating he was, but how much of a problem he created for the opponents as well. So I think that was the biggest snub of it all. But at the end of the day, I think it's obviously not a huge deal. More of just.
Something to talk about.
Just something to talk about. Something to talk about. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's no banners hung for all ACC necessarily. So
So basically, after Dusan went down, there was only 3 games where DJ didn't have double-digit points.
Yeah,
and that was against Clemson the first game, against UVA, and I saw the third one. No, I'm sorry. There was only 2 games. So
he got into foul trouble against UVA. So
well, and that was just a crap show for everybody.
Yeah,
so.
he sat for that.
But my point is like he was way over his 13-point average after the 17th, kind of like we were saying when he took over for Dusan. Like
I think it was 15 or 16 he averaged.
Yeah.
So we know that Coach of the Year was put out. Is Player of the Year been put out yet?
Oh yeah, it was Isaiah Wong.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense. I mean,
if
you look at, he would have been mine.
Yeah, if you look at all ACC, he is. I mean, the Miami's clearly the best team. I mean, they've got a player on first, second, and third.
Yeah.
State's got 2 on second. That's actually pretty kind of notable, I would say. But
Wong had 30 votes and Appleby had 23. They were your top 2 vote getters. The next person was Baycott, and he didn't even get double digits.
So wait a minute, I didn't catch that. Appleby was second.
Yeah.
See, I thought Appleby would have been Player of the Year, but
in an interesting twist, T did not get any votes for Player of the Year, but Jarko Joyner got 2.
Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think T did not play up to the hype this year. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He obviously is second team, so you can't say he was a bad player. But his potential, he could have done more. I thought my biggest factor would have been shot selection. Now I think he's a player in this postseason that could like flip the switch and become a household name if he wanted to, or I think Burns could. I think Joyner could, but I think Draquavian, something's off. I think a lot of it has to do with shot selection. That's say that 10 times fast. So,
well, and Nick right here asked the question: do you think our last 2 games impacted all ACC voting?
Yes.
And I mean, I would say first of all, 100%, but also too, I would always say, I mean, just in general in life and most things, I mean, you always want to be the last person. Like for example, you want to be the last to interview because they, like that's what the first person thinks of first is what what happened recently.
What have you done for me lately, kind of thing.
What have you done for me lately?
Whether that's fair or not, that's just how it goes.
Natural.
So, and you got, and it's how you did. You got whooped by Clemson, and then I don't think State played a great game against Duke. I think they, particularly on defense, looked pretty porous. So,
well, and T didn't score his first points until 8 minutes left in the game. So,
dude, yeah.
We're moving on.
I don't even know what the scoring prop is for Wednesday, but I mean, you have to smash the crap out of it because I feel like I've said it before and I'm banking again. There's absolutely no chance that T could not come out absolutely looking to make a statement against BT or Notre Dame on Wednesday, in my opinion.
So my counter would be that is we had a long layoff.
Yeah, but still, but he also too, he's been brewing it. The fact that it's so I'm hoping and praying that with T and his competitive nature, that he is just aching to get back out on the court to prove himself, and so but again, it's all again. I said going to Duke, there's no chance that T doesn't go off against Duke, and then he threw that in my face. So,
but I agree with Russell's comment. I think Casey Marcel wasn't given enough credit.
I was getting ready to say that he had no votes for Defensive Player of the Year.
I think that he's one of the best defensive players, honestly.
Zero. He wasn't even on the defensive team.
He didn't make all defensive team.
And that's what I don't understand is like he saved us in a lot of games. When our main guys were off, he was the one that came through. So that really shocked me.
Yeah, you had two guys from Virginia, Syracuse, Carolina, and Duke.
Shocker.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Now the interesting thing is here from Benjamin's comment saying, seen somewhere on Twitter that Baby T is projected to be the 22nd pick to the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe he'll come back for another year.
No.
No. I would say no, but I would say again, like right now, we got to be 150% focused on the AC tournament. Like in my opinion,
100%.
like it's a great ride in my opinion. In terms of, like I'd rather be in this bracket than the other bracket, in my opinion.
I don't want to play Clemson.
But I'm saying I'd rather play Clemson than play Miami or Duke right now.
Well, Miami's the 1 seed, right? So
yeah.
Well, but yeah. But
let me ask you this: would you rather play Clemson or Pitt?
We did beat Miami.
Would you rather play Clemson or Pitt, or Clemson or Duke? Would you rather play Clemson over Duke?
I'd rather play Clemson over Duke.
I'd rather play Clemson over Duke right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Pitt?
I'd rather play Pitt over both because they're going in the opposite direction.
Well, because my thing is it comes down to that. All right, if we are assuming again, I'm still like at that 99%. Like I still haven't like fully accepted it, but if it's 99% that Dusan is out, if he's done, then basically to me, we got to avoid, or we don't got to. We just would hope or ask to avoid the big men heavy teams like Duke for as long as we can. Just Duke is just. God, they're just so deep with big man, and we just are not deep at big man now without Dusan. So that'd be my reasoning. But anyway, though, so kind of jumping on over here. So I think we've kind of beat in again. Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. At Greensboro Coliseum, we'll face the winner of the Notre Dame Virginia Tech game. So again, make sure if you haven't already, make sure to go check out tickets. You actually can buy a ticket for it's both games. So it'll be UNC facing either Louisville or Boston College.
BC.
UNC facing either Louisville or Boston College, and us facing either Virginia Tech or Notre Dame. So you get 2 games for the price of 1. So make sure to go and check that out, y'all. And I know that I'll be there, and it'll be a blast. Also looking forward to it. Now jumping on over, I want to talk a little bit baseball here. Who has been super impressive to say the least here. Obviously coming off now 12-0, right? 12-0, man. After coming off a sweep over NJIT and obviously huge game on Sunday yesterday. I know it was stressful to say the least, but man, Peyton Green came through, y'all. Peyton Green came through, and the first thing which just stands out to me once again is, I guess I have kind of 2 comments. First of all, is that I just feel like that I love that we don't have that one guy. Like it's not a do or die that. Like we have one guy that either, will make or break us. There are so many options from a hitting side, whether it's Carter Trice, whether it's Parker Nolan, whether it's Peyton Green, whether it's the James Groover, the list goes on and on and on.
Oh, you forgot the man. You forgot the man on Saturday. Cannon Peebles.
Yeah, Cannon Peebles.
But you don't need a tank when you got a cannon.
Yes, Laura Reed. I think it was Laura. No, who was it? It was
somebody on Twitter.
It was our friend. Greg, it was your cookie lady.
Oh, was it?
I love that woman.
Yeah, it was.
I love her.
But anyway, yes,
Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes, Chelsea. So shout out to Chelsea on that. That was awesome. That was a great tweet.
Yeah.
Well, because my thing too is I'm guessing he's going into the DH spot, right? Because I mean he's not going to catcher, obviously. So
so he'll definitely spell Cozart. You know, when you had a 3-game series, you know, night game, day game, you know, you give your catcher the day off on the day game. So you know, he went in and did his thing, and he was so hot. We're like, okay, we'll put him in the DH. So the DH thing has kind of been a work in progress, but I mean, if you're hitting like that, you're going to be in the lineup every day. And look, as much as we love State, Cannon Peoples kind of got robbed of the player of the week. I'm not going to lie. Like even his one game stat line was better than the dude that got it for the whole week.
10 RBIs in one game. How does that not?
The other guy only had like 9 for the whole week. So
and he got like 4 doubles, and 6 for 6 hitting. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. He went 0 for 1 on Friday, and then he went 6 for 6, and then hit yesterday.
Yeah.
8 I thought, like everyone.
We got you, Greg.
Everyone in the stadium was up over his feet.
Yeah.
I'm hanging the edge of my seat to see what he's saying.
I know, right? I know, me too. I'm like sitting here like, come on, come back in. It's all good. But no, definitely everybody's hanging on, you know, for sure. I mean, with Chance, I mean, it's, but again, I love it. The fact that Parker Nolan against Coastal Carolina had a big game. Then you got Chance Peoples, who's had a big game. Oh man, the guy yesterday, which I'm forgetting names now, Peyton Green, had his game yesterday. So again, it's great. Now I know that everybody says, well, it's NJIT, like, you know, it's, you know, like, you know, let's play some real competition first and let's get there. It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, just at the end of the day,
win's a win.
Again, and especially in baseball, where I mean, you see bad losses all over the place. The fact that we've avoided any bad losses over the last 12 games, I mean, that has to say something. Not necessarily huge, like, oh man, we're going to win it all, but you know, I think it's just
NJIT is a 3-type 4C team. Like they're going to be probably in the
they'll probably
field.
win their conference. I think so.
Yeah, so it's not a bad team. They went in and split with Purdue. So they've got a couple of decent wins. So I get what people are saying, but in our chat, I dropped, I think it was yesterday. I think going into yesterday's game, we were number 4 in the country in the RPI. Like, I don't know what more you want. And like you said, I think we're now one of only 5 teams undefeated. And so you're going through, like we are hitting the ball collectively really well right now. We've got Carter Trice. He's got 5 home runs. Peyton Green's got 6 home runs. We kind of mentioned that. But we haven't talked about our pitching. Pitching's been doing really, really well. You got Justin Lawson out of the bullpen, who hasn't given up a run yet in 9 innings. Our starters, Dom Fritton yesterday threw a beautiful game. He threw 5 innings and only gave up 2 hits and 1 run. Sam had 2 bad pitches, and they went for home runs. But the play that probably will go unnoticed was the bunt back to him, where he threw basically from his knees the guy out at the plate to keep it a 1-run game. We grabbed it within striking distance.
And I think that pitching was the thing we were most worried about coming into the season. So that's good to see that we've got some good quality arms in the pen. Yeah.
Well, especially like I think that you would like to see, even though we have, I think, probably 7 guys are really standing together right now, you'd like to see a couple more just, to add on to, if possible. But I think you just give it time,
we still have injuries.
Obviously, you still have injuries, and obviously too, it's kind of like we really just wanted to focus on getting Sam Heifel going, get Baker Nelson going. We just wanted to get our main guys going first, and then we'll kind of expand from there. But especially as we get into AC play, those guys are going to get tested. So, it's only a matter of time until we get there. So I wouldn't really have too much to say about that. But
and the last thing I'll say is the starters have been doing their jobs going 5 innings. 5+ innings almost every game. So they're giving your bats a chance to win. So that's all you can ask for from your starting pitching.
Yeah. Now, shout out to Michelle for this comment saying we even have an amphibious baseball player who hit a home run from both sides of the plate. Which, if you're an NC State, if you're a true NC State fan, you know why she said amphibious. So I'm just leave it at that. And so yeah, again, it's an exciting team, and I know tomorrow late afternoon they play at UNCG, so I'm sure it'll be a good state crowd there for that. But
3
again, yeah, and then we got Miami coming up this weekend. So, for all those saying, well, we need to be tested first. Well, here we go. We got Miami. So that's a test. Anyway, got to give a shout there. Go ahead.
I thought you said that Cam Peebles didn't get National Player of the Week. Is that AP or what was that based on?
No, I said ACC Player of the Week.
Oh, ACC. Well, he got National Player of the Week, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes no sense.
Yeah, what?
The ACC just doesn't like us. I feel like we should all know that by now.
Well, and again, I think it just goes back to me that it's crazy that how deep honestly AC is. Honestly too. Another thing which I do got to mention, I don't really like that we only went up to 19th. In my opinion, I think we should have gone up a little bit higher. But just saying, I think that's another thing where we just didn't quite get enough respect for the fact we're 12-0, but we went from 20 to 19 or 21 to 19.
Yeah, one other player I kind of wanted to spotlight real quick was Trevor Candelaria. He hit 2 home runs on Saturday, 6 RBIs, and you would think, all right, player of the game. But then Cannon Peebles was like, nope, hold my power rate, son. I'm going to go 6 for 10 RBIs.
Is Trevor the amphibious one?
No, that's Cannon.
No, that's
Cannon.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, he hit one from both sides on Saturday.
Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you, if he keep it up as a freshman, because that's the thing, that's the greatest part is that chance he's a freshman, and Cannon. God, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got my man Chance. My man Chance Shepard will always live and breathe with me, man. One of my favorites of all time. Cannon. Yeah. Again, if this guy keep it up as a freshman, dude, MLB scouts got to drool at him thinking of a amphibious, power hitter that can also play catcher. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Wait,
so anyway,
amphibious or ambidextrous?
Well,
I'm saying amphibious because
it's ambidextrous, but the comment was, I think it was.
I know you're going at the whole story.
Washburn.
Yeah.
Was it Shackelford or Washburn? I think it was Shackelford.
Yeah,
I
know you're talking about. I was making sure everybody knows. We know the difference.
Yeah, we know the difference.
Yeah.
But again,
joke. We know. I'll make sure everybody else knows. We know.
But again, if you honestly have to ask, if you honestly have to, ask us, like, do you actually know the difference between amphibious and amphibious? To any of the 5 of us, I guarantee you that you're.
Hey, there's a generation who doesn't know that story. That's why I wanted to be sure.
True.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be sharing that to my kids and to my grandkids, and absolutely. So you gotta give a shout out to Rusty's comment here. Lots of bats. Someone gotta say, gonna take some folks swallowing their pride for playing time. Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
You have guys like Don Palali, who was a mainstay in the lineup last year, and he's just struggling just to get at bats this year.
Played,
so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good problem to have. I will say Harrison.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I will say Harrison, our second baseman that transferred from Texas A&M, the knock on him was his bat, and he's been spectacular hitting. He's hitting over 400. So like if that holds, that's a great get for the defense, and he's been playing real solid in the field.
And on top of it too, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have a single player with more than 1 error right now. If I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yep. So that to me is one of the best stats of all, because that was one of our biggest problems last year was errors. You basically just not shooting yourself in the foot. So I think if you keep it up, if you have solid, not great pitching, if you're not shooting yourselves in the foot defensively, and if 1 through 9 you're able to hit the ball, you have it a lot better than probably than 95% of other baseball teams out there, in my opinion. So
that was one of the things we talked about in our preview is like, look, if you can just cut down on giving up the free runs, those are runs that you don't need to get back, so you can still maintain your productivity and still win a lot of ball games.
Yeah, and again, Mark, I'm not jinxing us here. I'm just saying if we can continue that, that's what we've had so far. Again,
long season.
It's a long season, but I'm just saying that once again that at the end of the day, you show that you can do it, and you've shown that you can do it pretty consistently with 12 baseball games. Being able to do that is I mean, that's it's still a small sample size, but it's a solid enough sample size, I think, to make that conclusion. So, but yeah, no, I get you, Mark. We'll see what we can do against Miami this weekend. Looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, the last thing, people were complaining about the strength of opponent. Well, last year we lost some series to like Northeastern and some other teams.
Yeah, we got swept. But
Northeastern. So if you're comparing, every season is going to be different, obviously, in college ball, but we are at a much better place this year, I feel. Just the eye test alone, you can just see that things look better. But again,
when your RPI is top 5, like it doesn't matter what your strength schedule is.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I want to ask this.
State.
And I know we've talked about this before, but I just want to confirm because I know this conversation's come up a couple of different times on Twitter. But does anybody have an issue with us having such a weak out of conference schedule with how strong our in conference schedule is?
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with some folks at the ballpark this past weekend, and when you basically play, I think there are 8 teams right now in the top 25 in the ACC. It might be 9. I haven't looked at this week's poll. We're going to play, I think, 6 of those 8 or 9 top teams in a weekend series. So if that's 20 ball games, 20 to 24 ball games, that's almost half of your schedule going to be ranked against top 25 opponents, assuming that everything stays status quo. So I think you're going to be just fine. What happens is when you're only, like last year, when you were only winning 36 games and you have like a 36-20 record, that's where it matters. But if you go out there and take care of business and you can get to 40 wins, which the out of conference schedule is definitely helping us get to that number, as long as we can do our thing in ACC, we're going to be fine.
Yeah. We have 7 right now. We have Wake Forest at 2. Okay, we have Louisville 8, Virginia Tech at 14, UNC at 17, Virginia at 18, us at 20, and then Florida State at 23. So yeah, it's
keep note, Campbell, North Carolina School is 25 right now.
Yeah,
and you have ECU's on that schedule. I think that's what I was counting too.
5 North Carolina teams in top 25.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
One of them
is yeah. So anyway, but do want to kind of talk real quick here. Obviously, a big piece of news that came out mid last week. Definitely not good news. Again, we won't necessarily kind of talk too much speculation, but I mean, it's a big piece of news. I know, especially for us, being that we cover all things in state sports, so we got to talk about it at least a little bit here. But obviously, the news about Jennifer Patrick Swift, our softball coach, being told she is relieved of her duties as NC State softball coach. Again, we won't necessarily talk too much about what kind of comments happened on Twitter or things like that. It's just let's just say that it's unfortunate that it happened that way. Let's just put it that way and leave it at that. But it's out there. If you want to go see it, go see it. But we just don't want to add to that necessarily per se here. But obviously, like right now for NC State, we're 5-13 overall. We just got swept at Virginia Tech. I think that's really
what a good club though.
Yeah, well, no, but again, I think that's kind of really the biggest piece is that with state softball, for the most part, we're kind of have plateaued throughout Coach Patrick Swift's career at State, and unfortunately for her, the ACC during her tenure has only gotten better and better and better. Like it used to be before she even came here, and it was just Florida State and the rest of us. But then, like over the last few years, Duke, Clemson, Virginia Tech.
Clemson didn't even have a program.
Neither did Duke.
Right. Yeah. So again, I mean that's just I think that's kind of what made him pull pull the triggers, being like, listen, I mean we were 5-10 before we even started ACC play, and you knew that once you got to ACC play, that it's only going to get tougher. So it's like,
is this Boo Corrigan's first hire he's going to make?
It is
first hire and first fire.
I thought he hired the volleyball coach.
No, that was Debbie.
Oh.
That was Debbie.
So it'll be interesting to see what he goes for and who he's
targeting. Yeah, that's the big thing. Like, what is he one of those going to be all in, get a top tier person, or is he going to just
assume so.
find a guy or gal that is up and coming? Like, are you going established or are you going up and coming?
Yeah.
Well, and to me, I feel like, all right, and hear me out, is that, and we're going to talk a little bit about gymnastics here in a second, but I think that you're seeing over the last few years that there are these sports that all of a sudden kind of break through and really start to gain momentum from a support perspective, from a national perspective. And softball is definitely one of those that if we can get the right coach and, you
already have the baseball culture here at NC State.
Yeah.
Just to translate over to softball.
Translated softball, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, I think softball can be easily one of those sports that can easily take off from a state support perspective and from a national perspective. Why? Because we're competing in a conference now that has so many tough teams to compete against. So I mean, that's a great recruiting pitch to anybody saying, hey, listen, you come to NC State, we're building something here, but also too, I mean, you're going to be challenged every single weekend for the most part. You're going to be going against some of the best players and pitchers in the country. Simple as that. So Benjamin says wrong, he did hire him, which I'm assuming Boo hired Luca, which
I'm looking at it. He was hired in February 2020.
Oh, well, that was a great hire. So hey, I mean, Luca's a great hire. So definitely.
But this will be his first in 2020,
but it was 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
his
second hire, but
second. So definitely got to give.
It is his first firing.
Yeah, it is first firing. So again, definitely, unless anybody else has to kind of add to it, I mean, basically for me, it's unfortunate it happened. It's unfortunate it happened, so early, because now it really makes it really tough for the rest of the season, by losing your head coach and your top assistant coach, since they were husband and wife. So definitely we'll continue to support these girls still, and cheer them on and hope for the best for the season for sure. But definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in terms of who Boo brings on. Go ahead, Michael.
It does seem like it was for the best, though.
Yeah.
No, and again, if you want to look into that, just go check it out. You'll see. So
the one thing I would say to just kind of the one thing I would just say is just go out and try to support these ladies. I know they're going through a rough time, losing your coach, and just
especially
go out and support
right
these
before
coaches
ACC.
that are for sure, and go out and support these coaches, because I read the two coaches' bios. Well, the one coach, she doesn't even have a bio. She just literally came on board this year, and I know she didn't expect this in her wildest dreams. And then the assistant coach, so they have their hands full. There's literally two coaches now instead of the typical four. So
that's crazy.
They got a lot to manage. Yeah,
that's crazy. And then Rusty asked the question about, did any of y'all read the Athletic article today about the 40 years chasing V's ghost?
I didn't, but I saw it. You have to pay for Athletic. I don't have that.
I read it.
Yeah. What'd you think, Michael? Give us your two thoughts then. Fill us in.
It was a decent read. I mean, they weren't exactly accurate on everything, but I don't know.
Like what?
You should go. Well, they said that last year was the first year we finished in the top 25 of the Directors' Cup, and they were praising saying Boo Corrigan brought NC State's athletic program back. It's like, well, it kind of started before that with Debbie Yao. But
it definitely started before that with Debbie Yao.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting read. It's worth the read. But yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but if I have to go behind a pay firewall, I want accurate facts. So I'll pass.
Yeah, no. Well, no, especially for those two, which I mean, it's clearly obvious. But anyway, so want to give a huge shout out to our wrestling here, and then to kind of continue on here, because I know that a lot of people here, obviously from the get go, we're ready to talk about some wrestling, and I mean, obviously, what a successful day yesterday. To again get over 100 team points, get 4 ACC champions, have 8 finalists, 9 automatic bids for the NCAA tournament. I mean, just to me, it really just showed really how far Pop has brought this program. That literally people were saying that, oh, well, you lost Tariq Wilson, you lost Hayden Hidley, you lost all these guys. Like, you're going to be rebuilding this year, but we literally were rebuilding but yet beat Virginia Tech by almost 30 points in the team points. It's to me, that's the craziest thing. And literally next year, we're going to have everybody except for one person. Like we're literally bringing 9 of our starters back from this season to next season, and the 4 AC champions are all coming back next year. Like it just crazy. And again, literally 3 back in 2019 when we faced Ohio State, who was a top 5 or 6 team at that time. We literally got our butts whooped in every single match except for Michael Machiavello. That was the only one that Mock won, and that was the only one we won. So to literally say that within 4 years we went from getting our butts handed to us by Ohio State to now in a rebuilding year being number 3 in the country behind only Iowa and Penn State, having 4 ACC champions, and the conference has only gotten tougher and tougher. And on top of that, having 9 guaranteed NCAA tournament bids. But on top of that as well, we have one which, is borderline. But even if he doesn't, he's a true freshman. He didn't even start, he probably maybe started only half the matches this season. They were really trying to cycle through guys, see if one guy could really take off. But Jackson Harrington has been solid this year. I'm sorry, Matt Singleton has been solid this year. So, I think he still has a really good chance of getting it at a large bid. But hats off to the whole coaching staff, to all these guys. And that's really kind of my initial spiel. Greg, what's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, for me, I watched a lot of the replay last night after the tournament. The one thing that you just can't say enough about was Kyrie, man. That was just the fact that the way he went through the whole tournament. He was obviously named the most valuable wrestler, and then I guess he beat Felipe. I don't know the guy's name from Pitt that he beat.
Yeah, Mickey Filippi. Yeah,
Filippi. Yeah, just the way that he brought, like, I never even heard of a cement mixer, but the way Rock Harrison just said, "Hey, pull out the cement mixer," I'm like, don't know what it means, but that was awesome.
Well, it makes sense when you watched it. Yeah, so it makes sense when you go, oh, okay, that's cement mixer. I got it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but just the dominant performance, and I love the way Coach Pop and Coach Hall and Coach Ryan. I mean, all of them. I'm missing one of them.
Timmy McCall,
Cowboy McCall. I love his cowboy hats, man. He looks sharp in those. Yeah. But just the way that staff is put together, and you said it yourself. It's unbelievable what this program has become, and I've only gotten in wrestling. This is like I think my 2nd or 3rd year. I love it. I'm hooked. And you already mentioned the sellout crowd of the most ever to see an ACC tournament in person, and you would think that, I don't know, you were there. What was the ratio of fans? I mean, you would say 80%, 90% state fans. Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably good 75 to 80% state for sure. And that was the one thing which I was talking to my family about this last night. But I was saying that last year going to UVA, I felt like was a little bit cooler in the fact that just it was very even between state fans and Virginia Tech fans. So like I felt like last year I heard a lot more, and I was like getting bugged more by Virginia Tech fans. But this year, I mean, Virginia Tech fans really didn't stand out much to me the whole time. So which I mean probably is because I mean we were killing it in most of the matches. While last year it was definitely a lot more back and forth for sure.
Yeah, it was more even.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a great environment. I know they were actually even saying they were talking about. I know when I got there in the morning, they were talking about the bleachers where the band usually plays. They were talking about bringing those down for finals just to add more seating for people to come in. And I know that, I know Greg, you were reaching out to me, but we have 2 people DM us asking for tickets to the championship match. So
sold out.
I mean, again, to me, it just shows. I mean, like more and more state fans have bought in every single year to this program, have started to follow it. And I've said this 100 times. And I'll say it publicly right now to all those listening and to all those who will listen, that if you ever wanted to learn about wrestling in terms of like how it's scored, how it's done, whatever it is, feel free to reach out. I have no issue whatsoever with teaching new people how to follow, what to look for, things like that. Because it's not easy. It's not a puck in a net. It's not a ball in a goal. It's not a ball in the end zone.
A lot of subjectivity to it.
For sure. So, but I'm telling you, there's nothing more intense than an overtime wrestling match. I mean, it is intense to say the least. And so
just going back to the attendance, like it was only like 3,500, and so I mean
3,600,
yeah, 3,600. Like that's almost 2,000 seats that they took out that weren't available at Reynolds, because Reynolds holds about 5,500, 5,600. Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out like where they took all those seats from. I know the lower
players.
I know the lower.
So the other side where the student section is, there was pretty much all the VT wrestlers, the UNC wrestlers were sitting there. So that's, and then also too, they also didn't have the seats down below behind the scorers table put out. So that also helped too.
Could they have though, or was that necessary?
No, they needed the room. Yeah, gotcha. They needed the room. Okay. Yeah, just too much going on, too much hardware. I
will just say, I thought for the wrestling team, the number for the weekend was 5 championships individually for the wrestlers, and then their 5th overall ACC title in 5 straight years. So,
do we have 5?
Yep.
That was 5. Trent, Owen, Trombley, Kai. Who's the 5th one?
I thought it was 5.
It may have been 4.
Yeah,
I thought it was 5. Still,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. No. It's all good. Hey, I mean, I'd be thrilled for you telling me we had 5. I'm like, but I mean, we had 8 and we came out with 4. I mean, so I'm not necessarily too upset with that, either.
Maybe I'm wrong then.
Yeah, it's all good.
50% in the finals.
I'm going to need a better fact.
50. There's your 5 right there.
Yeah, 50%. We had 5. Yeah, exactly. There we go. So Infinite Hay here says, I was thinking about this today. The one side with the bleachers could hold around 700, and the bleachers where the band plays is around 800. So there's about 1,500 give or take right there. So there you go, Greg. That's where it is. So yeah, and also too, Carson here says, watching wrestling with someone who knows it is a great way to learn it. And worst comes to worst, just when you hear somebody wearing a red, just yell 2 with them.
Just throw them up.
2, there you go. Yeah. So yeah. But again, I mean, to me, I just love. I'm excited, about nationals. I know my mom coming in here asking who do we think has the best chance of winning a national championship? And I mean, to me, the obvious answer is Trent Hidlay. Yeah. I mean, I think that especially since the number 2 wrestler from Northern Iowa, when he faced him earlier this year, Trent got pinned. So to me, it just sets up beautifully for a revenge factor. Now, I mean, the thing which I've said, and I said that for those who listen to the wrestling preview, that Penn State right now is just in they're just in their own world right now. I mean, pretty much almost every single number 1 wrestler in every single weight class is at Penn State right now. I mean, they're just dominant. But I mean, just like Machiavelli said, hey, we ain't scared of nobody. We'll take anybody on. And so to me, the obvious one would be would be Trent. But thinking about the others, I mean, dude, does anybody in the country want to face Kai right now? I mean, dude, I mean, this guy he's beaten Mickey Filippi, who's been a top 10. He's a 2-time ACC champion, a top 10 wrestler this year. He's beaten him twice in a row. He beat Sam Latona, who's a top 15 wrestler in the country. He beat both those guys in the same day. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody really wants to face Kai right now.
Where is he ranked now?
Well, so he was
before
13, 14.
I say he's like top 15.
Yeah, he was 13 or 14. So I mean, now he's going to be top 10. He's got to be. I mean, after being Sam Latona and making, he's got to be at least top 10 now. Yeah. So, or whenever the new rankings come out.
I will say this, that if they're ever looking to start a tribute band to Kiss, he would probably be a good candidate, man. That tongue, like the way he was just going, that funny.
Well,
he looked like a gargoyle hanging off of the edge of the building. It's like, holy cow.
Well, and the one thing which I do want to clarify, because there's a lot of people saying, man, you need to get a new Celebration, man, which he does have some Hawaiian ties. So he does have some ties to, has a little bit of New Zealand, in him. And so that's kind of where that came from. So, but I mean, hey, Barstool Sports literally tweeted, the video of him, doing the tongue thing. So to me, I'm like, Barstool Sports, who's one of the biggest names out there in all of sports, said, I love it. So, I mean, I think that says a lot. Go ahead, Greg.
I'm just saying he wasn't the first NC State person to be featured on Barstool Sports. That's all I'm going to say.
You were?
Yeah, I was.
When? For what?
The College World Series.
Of course.
That's right.
Yeah, Big Cat tweeted something out, and it was me gifting like it was high. He goes like, "This is how I feel."
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Just saying.
I remember that now. I remember that.
I don't think I saw that. You'll have to send that to me.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Michelle says he was 14. Thank you, Michelle.
14.
So that, and Mark says it here too. Kai is freaking dangerous. Yeah, I mean, he has so much confidence right now. Now, the one thing which I do got to talk about, and I do want to kind of jump to talk about a couple more things before we wrap this up.
Hold on, one more. This is a good one.
Oh, the video of Pop celebrating the arena win over Lotano was what impressed me. Pop was jacked. I mean, dude, that's the thing I love about wrestling in general too, is that they have so many young coaches in all of college wrestling that have all this juice to them that, I mean, the celebrations are hilarious. They're great. I mean, obviously, Pop is best. Why? Because he's the NC State coach doing it. So if he's celebrating, that means it's really good things for us. But yeah, it's hilarious. And I feel too, all the coaching staff that offers their hand in a high five, because I'm sure he smashed the absolute crap out of it. So for those hands. But the one thing which I do want to talk about here for wrestling, though, Alex Faison, got to end on him and give absolutely every single bit of respect that you could possibly give to one person. You got to give to him. I mean, the fact that, this guy stepped into
it was impressive.
A supremely difficult situation, having to replace Hayden Hidley, to face Clay Lout and Mekhi Lewis, who even Hayden Hidley wasn't even able to beat last year. So to step into almost impossible situation, and then going into the tournament where we even said, listen, nobody's going to expect Faison to win it, and literally one half in overtime is what separated him from being an AC champion and pulling off one of the biggest upsets in program history. Like, definitely, I'm hesitant to say the biggest, because I don't know necessarily all matches. There's been a ton of them, but I couldn't imagine a bigger one than for him to beat a former national champion, a world finalist in his senior year, who started for 4 or 5 years, and losing to a guy who's starting in his first year. Like, that's a pretty big upset if he could pull that off, in my opinion. So, but I do want to kind of ask, Greg, Michael, Macon, did y'all watch any of the post-match stuff after Faison and Mekhi?
No,
okay.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
Greg, Michael,
yeah.
see it?
Yeah, they were just like pushing each other back and forth.
Yeah. Oh, again, like, the biggest reason I had
was there anything else?
Well, the biggest reason I had issues, all right, well, because first of all, I remember what he did last year after he beat Hayden, and because immediately I had issue because when Hayden beat Mekhi at NC State, the first thing Hayden did was he took off his headgear, he waited, he shook Mekhi's hand, and then he walked away and he celebrated. Like, it wasn't like, in your face. It was respect first, great match, then move on, and yes, I got the win. But then when he faced Hayden in the AC Championship, it was jumping all around, and literally walking in front. Like, literally Hayden was walking off the mat, and Mekhi literally walked in front of Hayden just to get a hug from his coach, like right in front of him. And also he was doing like he was mocking the raise the roof and everything. So I had an issue at that point. And then and again, in my opinion, Mekhi started with the push, and then also just to mouth off afterwards, and then to jump into the arms of his teammates and like, oh, what a win. I'm like, bro, you literally almost got beat. Everything I just said in terms of Faison, Mekhi, it almost happened. You almost had the biggest upset. Like, imagine UVA when they faced whoever it was, Loyola or whatever. UMBC is number 16.
Yeah.
And let's say Virginia found a way to come back. And it was like Virginia going, oh my God, we won. We beat a 16 seed. It's like, really? You just beat a 16 seed? Like, okay, like, chill. So like that was really what it was for me. Like, in my opinion, Mekhi, he just never has. There's nothing wrong with winning, but you got to win with class. And in my opinion, he just doesn't have class. And that's just that. I mean, I've seen it twice now. That's all I'm gonna say. I've seen it twice. So I feel like now it's not a one-time thing. There's a story to it here, but we'll leave it at that. But got to end it though on Faison. all the respect in the world. There's no doubt that he can compete with any wrestler in the country. Can he beat any wrestler in the country? Sure. Should he? Maybe not, but I mean, he'll be absolutely competitive, and I think he'll absolutely make some noise in nationals.
It's a process.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Infinite. So basically, from what I could see, it looked like basically Makai gave a little push to kind of separate. Then Faison, gave a kicks. I'm not saying that Faison is, completely innocent here, but what I'm saying is that, in my opinion, Makai was trying to make a point when he should just been like breathing a sigh of relief that he even got out of it, alive.
Yeah.
So should just like, listen, I understand why he's pissed off, but I'm walking away with the championship. I'll leave it at that. So anyway, so I also got to give a shout, obviously, to women's tennis as well. I mean, women's and men's. Men's beating Georgia Tech and Clemson on the road.
Yeah,
women's tennis, just absolutely has been killing it ever since their one big loss a couple weeks ago. Has absolutely stormed back to getting back to the top 4 in the country. It's just once again, tennis has gotten right back to exactly where we expect them to be, which is competing for a national championship, ACC and national championship. So it's great to see both of those teams clicking right now. So, Michael, Greg, making any thoughts or any additions on that?
No, I think I'm really excited to see the program's doing moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The women's team is ranked number 4 now.
Yeah,
number 4.
back where it should be.
Yeah, the final score was 4-3 against Georgia Tech, but that was only because they let them play the last game. So it really was 4-2. We actually won that 4-2. But they'll mark it as 4-3.
Yeah, right.
So it was even more impressive when is where I'm kind of going with that.
For sure. Go ahead, Michael.
I was just looking up baseball RPI, so a little go back here, but as of today, NC State is number 1 in the RPI.
Wow, dude!
And that's the RPI, right? Not some like Republic People Institute.
What again?
Baseball RPI.
Yeah, I saw State is also first in the country for doubles. NC State put that out. They lead the country in doubles at 39, and they're doing this thing apparently when they get to like second and they kind of go like that. I don't know what that's all about, but
I'll find out because I have noticed they're like, I will say I think we have 5 players, maybe 6 players that have more home runs than a LSU baseball player at this point, but
just who shall not be named. Who shall not be named.
I will also say there's probably it's not a good idea to put too much stock into the RPI because number 2 is Penn, who's 2 and 4.
Yeah.
They just have the number 1 strength of schedule, so they're number 2 in the RPI.
Yeah. What's helping us right now is our 12-0 start.
Yes.
Sure.
That's definitely a piece of it. But
yeah,
I think we've been playing lower in middle tier teams, if that makes sense. Lower middle class teams. So
yeah. And also to kind of finish off with tennis, got Infinite here saying I was impressed with Georgia Tech at the women's tennis match. They are better than their number 19 ranking, and Schneider just had an off day. And I mean, obviously for Schneider to have an off day and still be as competitive as she is, I think just says enough in terms of why she's one of the top 100 tennis players in the whole country from a women's side. In the world, right? In the world, yeah. From women's tennis, that's unbelievable. Yeah, a little bit bigger than that for sure. Now, real quick, I do want to again give huge love and shout outs to gymnastics. Got Infinite here saying that she had went to the gymnastics meet on Saturday and enjoyed the interviews that we did afterwards. Appreciate that. Again, got to give a shout out. The second highest team score in program history with a 197.225. I did ask, I did get from Insight too, because I was like, well, what was number 1? We got a 197.725 back in 2000. So a 0.5 a point better back in 2000. But also too, the highest floor score in program history with a 46.625. I'm sorry, 49.625. So again, just cannot say enough in terms of what Coach Landers has done with this program. Just like Pat Popolizio has absolutely taken this program from being just, hey, let's just go check it out, just because we like gymnastics, to like, hey, you want to see some of the top gymnastics, competitors in the country, let's go check out NC State. I mean, that's pretty much what we've had. I mean, Chloe Negretti getting a 9.975 on floor, like that means that literally one of the judges gave her a 10 and the other gave a 9.95. Like, so I still remember to this day, or sorry, to this minute, seeing that 10 get turned around, and I freaked out. I was literally saying, like, that looked like a 10 to me, and to see that turn around was awesome. Love to see that.
In the immortal words of what was it? What was the Varsity Blues? Tan. We gave her a 10.
That was a 10. Yeah, and I do love the student section too. I mean, it was a solid student section for the first time that we've done it. And I mean, like, you look at Auburn, and that, like, they're the most famous when it comes to student sections, just because they are famous for mocking the floor routines or whatever, which is hilarious. So to get that, and I think the more that we get support from the student body, from state fans, the better it's going to get. And it's awesome. So I can't say enough that was the last home meet for this year, but next year, and even for the rest of the season, follow them, support them, y'all. I'm telling you, it is going to be a treat for the rest of the season and next season as well, because every single starter that we have right now can come back next year. Chloe Negretti, Lex Ortega, Emily Shepard, Chris Zolovitz, they all can come back next season. Now, if they do, not sure, but just, everything that we've done this year, second highest team score, all that can come back next season. Just saying. So now I want to kind of jump over to finish this thing off here with women's basketball. I want to talk a little bit about that here. So, obviously, disappointing loss to Notre Dame, at least for me, especially with the news of Olivia Miles being out, and then seeing what Louisville did to Notre Dame the next day. It's like
frustrating.
So to me, like, that was what made it even more frustrating. Be like, that basically tells me if we had played solid, we should have beaten Notre Dame, and that was my thought. I mean, again, just no energy. And again, I understand, and again, we're Tuffy Talk here. We're the positive people for sure. And again, I mean, I'm positive saying that this team can still go do some damage at the NCAA tournament, especially if and it sounds like when Diamond Johnson comes back.
Yeah.
But I always say, you can't necessarily control how talented you are in a moment. Like you're either as good or bad as you are right now, and then you can't necessarily do anything about how injured you are. You can't do anything about any of that. But the only thing that you can control is how much effort you give, how much energy you give. And to me, watching that game, there was just no energy. There was no juice. There wasn't, and I think that really killed it, like, for us. It really did not help us whatsoever. And again, I mean, Jakia was just non-existent. It was a really frustrating game, in my opinion.
Just overall, it was just so up and down throughout the whole season. There was, I guess, the one where would be lack of consistency, right? There was just not that consistency that we've had in previous years. And we've said it multiple times. We're a fan base that has just been spoiled by the rags of riches that we had for the last 4 or 5 years, making Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, Sweet 16s, Elite 8. Like, for us, a bad year was a Sweet 16. Like, that's a bad year. So I think you chalk this up as just it's an anomaly. Again, just weird. You had 2 transfers out in 1 year in the middle of a season. That's never happened.
Yeah.
And that hurt, right? Down to the end of the year, we're dressing 7 and 8 players a game, and you just you just can't do that, especially when you're playing back-to-back days. Those legs are going to get tired, and but you can still have some energy, right? Like, that's the one thing that fatigue shouldn't have an effect on is your psyche, if you will, or your motivation.
Well, and especially since we really just struggled shooting the 3, especially during that game, but in the season overall, you really have to get some presence inside to make the defenders, respect the inside game.
Yep.
And just unfortunately, River Baldwin, as great as she played against Syracuse, was just not effective whatsoever. And then Mimi was like, where was Mimi Collins? And then Camille was, she was okay, but I mean, it wasn't anything like, oh, we need to watch Camille Hoppy. It wasn't that. Go ahead, Michael.
That just goes back to the inconsistency and up and down all season, because against Syracuse, all our post players like they dominated that game.
They did, yeah.
And
when you look at Camille, the last game of the season against Pitt, she had a career day. I think she had 21 points. So like the potential was there. It was just consistency. There was days where we shot okay from outside, but there were games we would go 0 for 10.
And then in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame, we hadn't made a three all game, and I think Rivers hit one. I think Jakia hit one. And we got it down to what, 5 points?
But there was you could just feel as if the girls already accepted defeat, in my opinion. Like that's from what I was watching. It's just in my opinion. It just seemed like the girls are accepted. We're going to lose this game.
I think the point where NC State felt like they were losing the game is where Jada Boyd got a rebound and she should have just laid it up at the very end, and she did it, and it was like. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Yeah. And I think it would cut to like 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, I think that.
But you mentioned Hobby, Jada Boyd, Madison Hayes, Mimi Collins. Those, like Hayes, Boyd, and Hobby played over 20 minutes, and I don't know what their field goal shooting percentage was. I haven't even checked that, but it's not even in double digits. Jakia was 3 for 9. That's not great. Camille only took 3 shots.
Yeah.
So she didn't play bad offense. She didn't get many looks. And Jada Boyd was 4 for 6. It's not bad. But Madison Hayes 1 for 4. Mimi Collins 0 for 2. Not too many shots. I mean, the glaring difference here is Isaiah James and Sinai Rivers are the entire offense except for maybe Jakia Brown Turner. So
I was getting ready to just say the silver lining in all of this is you've seen what you have with Isaiah James, and that you kind of started to see as the season got on, the I don't even think potential is the right word, but you're starting to see the blossoming of Sanaya Rivers, and when you get a backup point guard, we didn't have that backup point guard where.
Well, and again, was Isaiah James my biggest issue? Honestly, was just the turnovers, like just so many bad turnovers against Notre Dame.
She's young though.
She's young, I know, but again, just unfortunately in that situation,
make those plays in a game like that.
And again, in that situation, we couldn't let her be young. We need her to step up. With Diamond Johnson being out, we need her to step up and make plays. So but I feel you.
The reason why State lost this game was 3-point shots, right? Yeah. I mean, they were 2 for 15. That's the reason they lost this game. They weren't. They sucked shooting. They sucked shooting. They were 13%. Their shot the previous game like what 60 something. So night and day difference.
Yep. Well, and I think this whole
all year.
And I think this whole season that the inside game has hurt us for sure. We just haven't really had any. But also too, again, we've said this before. The outside game, like 3-point shooting, if you're going to be a nationally competitive team in women's basketball, you need to be able to shoot 3. I mean, that's just the way women's basketball is just designed. It's designed around the 3-point. But I think that honestly, what's really kept us in games has been defense. I think that's really has been the thing that's kept us in games is our defense. But
when we decide to play it,
exactly. But just
defense was good enough against Notre Dame. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the final? What was the final?
It was low scoring,
low 60s.
Yeah, it was like 66 to 58 or something like that.
The game against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
66 to 60.
60.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I said 58.
Yeah.
So,
but again, too, it just comes down to and I'm not talking about any of these, but I'm just saying it's frustrating, specifically Jada Boyd and Jakia Brown Turner, being that they're the 2 seniors. But also Jakia Brown Turner for years, was a Team USA player. Was widely considered, maybe first, second, team, even All-American, even considerations for during the last few years. And then and then Jada Boyd, she was ACC most valuable player or
6th person last year, wasn't she?
6th person last year, last couple of years. Yeah. So again, just to go from that to like, where the heck are you guys the whole season? Like that's really been my biggest thing. It's not like they had a couple games off. This whole season they've been off, and again, I'm not necessarily calling them out. it's just factual. They just have been non-existent this season. Which you got to have leadership. You got to have players you rely on. And unfortunately, Diamond Johnson has been the only option that we've had for the most part, and she's been dealing with injuries the whole season. So, yeah, definitely just a rough year for sure. But even with all that, they're going to make the NCAA tournament, and Diamond's going to come back, and they'll make some noise. And if they made it to a Sweet 16, I wouldn't be overly shocked. But
I also wouldn't be shocked if we got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, me either.
It is the consistency.
Yeah, and if that happened, just all right, let's move on. Just like we got Lacey Steele, you got Zoe Brooks coming in. I know Wes Moore's gonna hit the transfer portal hard. Yeah, I know Wes Moore's gonna hit the transfer portal hard for some bigs. And I'm fully expecting next year's team to be a completely different story than this year.
This team is going to look vastly different because you only have 9 players on the squad right now anyway, right? And so you got all those freshmen coming in. You're definitely losing Jada. I think you're losing
Jakia.
Well, Jakia could come back because of COVID.
Yeah, there's a bunch that could.
Camille could technically come back. The only one you're 1,000% losing is Jada, and I believe Mimi. I don't think
Mimi is a grad transfer.
And I think River Baldwin is too. I don't think she has anything left.
Yeah, you're right. So
it's going to be a different team.
Yeah, for sure. So
that's not a bad thing, I don't think.
But you got some pretty good players coming in, like Zoe Brooks and
Zoe Brooks.
I forget other girl's name. The red
Lacey Steele.
Yeah, who just scored her 2,000th point in high school. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, especially I feel like Sanaya Rivers is a perfect role player. I don't think she's somebody necessarily to be the star, the player, but I think she's a player that has great, like she can shoot the three, she can drive to the basket, she can dish the ball. But I just feel like that she's more of a shooting guard in my opinion than a point. So
and the reason but she's had to play point out of necessity. I mean, correct.
I think
even Isaiah James is not a point guard; she's a shooting guard as well.
Right.
So hopefully.
And I'm going about this. You're saying the centers. Don't forget, they got Maddie Cox coming in as well.
Yes.
Too, so.
Yep. That's what I said, Maddie and Mallory. It's going to be. I want to say they're top 15 class coming in, maybe top 10.
Yeah. When it's only gotten better. Zoe's only gone up and up the charts.
Yeah, she was just named to the Naismith team this year or this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So it's the future's bright. Definitely not too worried about it. Just ball it up, throw it. But again, it's another tournament. We could make some noise, 100%. But just like Greg said, we could not get out the first round. Who knows? So all right, y'all. So just to kind of wrap this up here. So again, we got our we're actually gonna be releasing both episodes of our men's basketball tournament preview tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned for that and make sure you don't miss it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, which is free to do. And so that way you're notified on all your devices whenever we go live with any Tuffy Talk content, not just episodes, but any Tuffy Talk content, whether it's watch parties, live streams, you name it. So make sure to do that. And also, too, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you enjoyed this episode, do us a big favor and hit that like button. And also, too, if you haven't already, follow us now, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram, which I do got to give a huge shout out as we passed 11,000 followers on Twitter today, which is amazing awesome. To say the least. So thank you all so much. Cannot thank you enough for all the support. And it's amazing to see all this going on. I appreciate all the amazing positive feedback, as I know that we've been all over the place trying to cover as much as we can for sure. And, and we'll definitely continue to do so. And, and obviously too, I can't say enough either. If you're not following us simply for the giveaways, I mean,
right?
We've been giving away tickets left and right. You name it. Now men's basketball might be a little bit tough just because of the fact that I know for me, I'm gonna be at a couple of them. Just if state gives me 2 or 3, I'm probably more likely going to be there. I literally have a beach weekend planned where, like, if we get knocked out early, I'm heading to the beach. But but my wife and I have agreed, like, if we're still in it, we're sticking around. Like, we're not missing this if we're still in this. So, but again, so men's basketball might be a little bit tough for those asking about men's tournament tickets. But
Always have baseball.
Always have baseball. You know, just stay tuned, y'all. Just stay tuned. We're gonna have a lot of stuff. We're gonna continue to do it. So give us a follow on Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, y'all. Michael, Macon, Greg, any last thoughts, man, to wrap this up?
A lot of action going on this week. So
yeah,
Furman just won the SoCon championship, so that helps our resume.
Yeah,
and shout out to UNC Asheville for winning their conference.
No.
Shout out to UNC Wilmington, who just upset Hofstra in the CAA conference, and now that's Takeo Siddle. That's the former coach for NC State. Yeah. That is Nick Farrar, former NC State post player. So he actually had the go ahead bucket in overtime to win that game for them. So
wow.
All right,
go ahead, Greg.
No, I was saying, since everybody's giving shout outs, I want to give shout out to Liz Labriola that was in the chat, friend of the program and Pac-9 family member. So it was nice meeting you this weekend and your husband Paul husband and your son Paul. Get it?
Yeah. So. But also too, I mean, that's another thing which I want to wrap up on too, saying that most of the bracketology I've seen, has us right now pretty solidly in right now. Now, we
save
can't
it for the preview.
Save for the preview. But again, just let's get a win here against Virginia.
I'm not even worried about it. Not even worried about it.
Yeah. No, let's get a win
unless
here.
some craziness happens and we don't talk about it.
Yeah. But again, previews coming out tomorrow. So don't miss out on it, y'all. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support once again. We will see y'all soon as always. Go Pack, y'all.